This is Part 2, Episode 162. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed like lightning. He looked up at the huge beast god statue, which was ahead of him. While studying it, his golden horned beast body in his internal world was studying the tiny statue, and they compared. Luo Feng walked about the statue, fast as a blur, each step crossing over thousands of kilometers. Your Majesty? Dylan asked curiously. Dylan, what is His Majesty Luo Feng doing? Saifan Qi asked curiously as well. Does he really want to inspect every corner of this statue? However, countless people have done it over and over before, yet none have found anything special. I don't know either. Dylan shook his head. As the two of them were chatting, Luo Feng had flown into the sky to gaze at the statue from thousands of kilometers up, looking down at its back, neck, head portions. After a while, Luo Feng had gotten a good look of the entire beast god statue. Who? His gaze finally shifted from the statue and down at the bottom of the canyon. With one glance, that area was tens of thousands of kilometers wide and 1,000,000 kilometers long. Other than a few palace constructs there, he could see crossed-legged gold horn race warriors training there. Over 100 million of them were present. Almost all of them were sitting crossed-legged. The formless energy from that was no weaker than the beast god statue itself. Over 100 million warriors. The many generations of warriors have all come to study this statue, wanting to become as great a being as Shi Luo Duo. Luo Feng shook his head, after which he swiftly descended like a shooting star, slowing down as he reached the bottom, his silver metal boots gently landing. Your Majesty. Dylan and Saifan Qi came over. I need to think about it. Luo Feng said so and sat crossed-legged on the rocky ground, his armor splitting some of the rocks below. Dylan and Saifan Qi stood beside him and protected him. So it's like that. This huge statue actually has such a difference from my small statue from Blood River Continent. Luo Feng was shocked from his comparison before. They are similar in appearance, they are definitely the same beast god. Their scale numbers are the same too, a total of 90,729 scales. The scales, however, are different in structure. Also, this huge statue doesn't have the god charm of the small one, the same image. Luo Feng frowned and pondered. The two of them had huge differences in structure. One was over 10,000 kilometers long while the other was only about 30 centimeters tall and 1 m long. However, no matter how different they were in size and posture, the number of scales were exactly the same. Even the scales on the sleeping huge statue, the ones on its chest or under its claws etc., those not visible to the eye, Luo Feng used his spirit energy to check and realized, even those in between areas had the same number of scales. It was almost as though this ancient beast lying there was made into a statue itself. How strange. The number of scales are the same, both counting to 90,729. However, the structure of the scales are different. The feeling it gives me is like the ones on the small statue are more organized with charm and imagery. However, there's no rule to the ones on this big statue, yet it still gives off such a terrifying aura. Just what is going on? Luo Feng pondered hard. Ever since Shi Luo Duo had left this statue here, over the generations, there's been countless warriors coming here to study it. Even great human beings have come here, like some universe knights and country leaders, yet none have comprehended this beast god statue. Maybe some have understood it, but chose to keep it a secret. However, there hasn't been even one public announcement from anyone about comprehension of the statue. With so many absolute beings not getting anything from it, for a small being like Luo Feng, who had just stepped into the sector lord level, with some miraculous encounters, to actually comprehend it, it was without a doubt just a dream. Luo Feng pondered there, and in an instant, over 3 months had passed. Dylan, Saifan Qi, Kashna and the 5 sector lord guards all stood guard patiently. Elder Kebu had left immediately after arriving, saying he wanted to meet his good friends in the Beast God Canyon. Dylan and the 5 sector lords weren't bored either. This was the first time they saw this huge Beast God statue. They all tried their best to study it. They were dreaming too, that they may be able to comprehend it, that way, they would improve by leaps and bounds. Saifan Qi and Kashna however were bored to death. They had already tried it a long time ago. Who? Luo Feng took a long breath. Your Majesty. Dylan and Saifan Qi immediately looked over. Nothing. Luo Feng smiled and shook his head, after which he closed his eyes again, and sent a large portion of his consciousness into his internal world. Within his internal world, it was vast and endless. The Yunmo planet ship was stopped in a grass patch. With his internal world now, the ship needn't be placed in Barbata's storage unit anymore. Barbata, combine the pictures I recorded before with this beast god statue and project it. The black-clothed Luo Feng stood beside the ship and ordered. Understood. The Yunmo planet ship immediately shot out a beam of light, forming an enormous sleeping beast god statue that stretched over 10,000 kilometers long. This was exactly similar to the one in reality. Even if it was a simple projection, it still gave off a terrifying aura. Only that it wasn't as obvious as the real statue. I dare say. Black cloth Moshe Luo Feng stared at the projection, his eyes gleaming. The problem is in the scales. The huge statue and the small statue both have a peculiar 90,729 scales. One of them is over 10,000 kilometers long, while the other is just 1 m in size. Yet, they have the same number of scales. I think that if the number of scales are any different, there wouldn't be any aura. Luo Feng had many thoughts in his head, immediately ordering, Barbata, make some changes to this projection, split one of the big scales into 2. Yes. Barbata complied. One of the huge scales on the projection in the sky was split into 2 smaller ones. Rumble. The pressure dissipated and the originally terrifying projection became nothing more than a simple projection with no aura at all. Indeed. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Revert it back to original, also, change the vanes of one of the scales. Luo Feng ordered. After reverting it, the pressure came back. With the change in the vanes, the pressure dissipated again. Luo Feng could confirm that the problem was within the 90,729 scales. Black cloth Luo Feng waved and the mini statue of the beast god appeared. This small version stood on all fours, its horn raised and it gave off a powerful aura. That unique charm was almost like staring straight at a living ancient beast god. Barbata, blow up the projection of this small statue up to 10,000 kilometers long. The black-clothed Luo Feng ordered. Yes. Immediately, 2 incredibly huge beast god projections appeared side by side. One was in a sleeping position while the other standing upright, filled with killing intent and ferociousness. Both have pressure. The black-clothed Luo Feng rubbed his chin, muttering, the sleeping beast god's pressure is stronger, the standing one is weaker somewhat. No, not right. I should say the standing one has charm and unique imagery, and it's controlling its aura, while the huge statue doesn't have that charm or unique imagery. Looking at the sleeping beast god statue, I cannot picture a living beast god, as it has no charm. Also its aura is released loosely, hence it feels that strong. As long as one wasn't dumb. One could clearly feel that the standing beast god statue was obviously more lifelike, almost like a real beast god. One felt like it was living, while the other gave the sensation that it was dead. The difference was huge. The veins on the scales are different. Black cloth Luo Feng thought. I'll give it a shot. Rumble, in the distance a black silhouette flew over, landing in the grassy patch. It was an enormous mountain-like beast, the golden horned beast. The golden horned beast is extremely adept at studying the beast god statue. Black-clothed Luo Feng muttered. I'll let it try and carve the beast god statue. Right, carve. Personally carving one to experience the difference in the veins, this was the method Luo Feng had come up with. I'll first carve a sleeping beast god statue. The black-clothed Luo Feng thought. Immediately, a large amount of world energy gathered and a huge mountain range, over 10,000 kilometers long, was purely used for carving. Also, the world energy simultaneously produced over 10,000 different sorts of carving blades. The big ones were over 100 kilometers long, the small ones were smaller than ants in size. The golden horned beast stood in the grass patch, and waved its scaled wings, flying around the over 10,000 kilometers long mountain range. It simultaneously used spirit energy to control over 10,000 carving blades, swiftly beginning to carve through the mountain range. When one's strength reaches sector lord level, while controlling spirit energy, even as delicate as 1 millimeter, or 1 micrometer or nanometer, not a single mistake can be made. Success. After a while, the huge sleeping beast god statue was carved, extremely lifelike. It sure was hard, every vein on the scales were all incredibly complex. However, it's strange that there isn't any aura at all. The golden horned beast stood in mid-air, its gaze was curious. No matter, I'll try and carve the tiny beast god statue. Another over 10,000 kilometers long mountain range appeared, and the golden horned beast once again controlled over 10,000 carving blades to begin its carving. The beast god statue's overall shape was easy to carve, the main thing was how complex the scales were. Howl. As it carved the 12th scale, the golden horned beast let out a painful howl. The huge head shook and braced against the pain as it tried to carve the veins of the scale. The more it carved, the more it howled in pain, almost like a formless restriction was pressuring its body, and that formless pressure worked directly on its soul. Howl, the beast cried in pain. Its nose, eyes and scales on its wings, claws and tail began to bleed gold blood. With a huge howl, it completely fell from the air and crashed into the grass. The grass patch shook violently as the mountain-like golden horned beast landed in it. Its scales revealing traces of gold blood, and parts of its scales were even damaged as golden blood flowed from its eyes and nose. Immediately, a torrent of world energy swiftly wrapped around the entire golden horned beast body, and began to recover its injuries. In the outside world, Laos World's Beast God Canyon. Luo Feng, who was sitting crossed-legged like the other 100 million warriors in training, suddenly let out a low noise of pain, both hands gripping hard at the stones on the ground, crushing them to dust. Your Majesty! Your Majesty Luo Feng, are you okay? Dylan and Sai Fan Chi, who were sitting crossed-legged beside him, were shocked. They both discovered that Luo Feng was in pain. Luo Feng didn't answer, he gripped the ground hard, the veins on his forehead throbbing. Who? He let out a breath and opened his eyes, clearly fatigued as he looked at Dylan and Sai Fan Chi. It's nothing, don't worry. The two exchanged glances. Nothing. It would be weird if it was nothing. He was simply sitting there, under the surveillance of two great undyings. He was definitely not attacked. However, under such circumstances, he was actually in pain. It was simply too strange. Luo Feng was a universe warrior, he wouldn't fall sick for no reason, it was impossible. Looks like His Majesty has some secret. Dylan thought. This human Luo Feng has some secret he's not willing to share. Sai Fan Chi thought so too. Luo Feng sat there and looked up, gazing at the incredibly huge sleeping beast god statue, shocked within. Why? I was simply carving the scales of the small beast god statue, yet I was hit by a formless pressure that not only acted on the golden horned beast's body, but even its soul. Even my human and Mosha souls were affected. How could this be? Luo Feng found it hard to believe. He had already completed carving the larger sleeping beast god statue. Yet, why was there a problem in carving the small one? And the golden horned beast was in his internal world, which was its own territory. Hence, it could never be attacked by absolute warriors. What's more, Dylan and Sai Fan Chi were beside him. If I wasn't attacked by other warriors, what was I hit by? If I wasn't attacked, there's no way I would be so heavily injured. Luo Feng frowned and pondered. The golden horned beast is within the internal world, even so it was heavily injured. The formless pressure affected both the physical body and soul, and was extremely terrifying. Luo Feng recalled the feeling before and couldn't help but shudder. It was a feeling where he couldn't even resist. There's only two explanations. The first one is that there's a being far beyond my imagination, stopping me from carving this little beast god statue, hence he punished me. Luo Feng thought. The second one is that if it wasn't a warrior that stopped me, then it may be the universe laws itself pressuring me. The universe was pressuring Luo Feng. Right? According to what he understood, the entire universe was bound by laws, like if there was a split in space etc., it would naturally repair itself. The moment one accelerated to light speed, it would travel into the dark universe etc. These were all the physics of the laws of the universe. And if his actions before had triggered or went against these laws, there would be repercussions. Within the primal universe, one had to follow these laws. The universe has special laws, anything that goes against it would have repercussions. Luo Feng thought. I've seen things that go against them, like the Metal Nameless manual on Earth. It obviously has the ability to go against the foundations of the laws. That great being was able to create a technique that went against the universe laws itself. However, Luo Feng, obviously against the universe laws themselves, he had only a hair's worth of understanding. Hence, he couldn't avoid the repercussions. These are the two possibilities. Which one is it though? Luo Feng thought. An absolute warrior punishing me. Such a possibility is very low, because he would have to get past Elder Sai Fan Chi and even attack the golden horned beast within my internal world. To do so, it would be a being far beyond my imagination. And that level of being, is there a need for him to observe me? Even though Luo Feng was confident in himself, he wasn't arrogant. He wasn't at a level of which such a being would bother to take notice of. And I only got hit when I was carving the small beast god statue. Luo Feng thought. He came to a conclusion. There was a 90% chance of it being the laws pressuring him. Who? After making the conclusion, he let out a sigh of relief. The universe was vast with trillions of races, producing countless powerful races. However, the laws were still fair without any bias. Even the inherited memories of the golden horned beast mentioned the existence of the universe laws. Obviously these laws were in place to stabilize the entire universe. It wouldn't immediately kill any life. At least within his inherited memories, it never mentioned the universe laws killing anybody. My actions before had touched the baseline of the laws. Luo Feng looked up at the huge beast god statue, getting excited within. The baseline of the universe laws, what did it mean? It meant that the secret within the beast god statue was an absolute pinnacle secret, one that would render intervention from the universe laws themselves. If I can comprehend this huge secret, it would be just like Shiluo Duo said, I'd become an invincible being. That would be true. Luo Feng thought. It's no wonder over the countless years none have been able to comprehend this sleeping beast god. After all, this sleeping statue is the same life form as the little statue. Universe pinnacle secret. Luo Feng was really excited now. Because he had felt that he had gotten an incredible encounter. The beast god statue may have a guidance path to becoming an invincible being in the universe. Even if one was as confident as Luo Feng, he was very clear how hard it was to become a powerful being. Humanity, Gold Horn race etc., these beings have been in the universe for countless years, yet the number of universe knights are still so few. Then, beings like Shiluo Duo, a super being that led an entire race, how rare was a being like him? At least in the history of the Gold Horn race, there was but one. My little beast god statue is obviously much more valuable than this big one. Luo Feng thought. I had no problems carving the bigger sleeping one. However, I received punishment from the universe laws when I carved the little one. Also, the small statue obviously has a unique charm, much like a lifelike beast god. And I got this statue from where it used to live, the Blood River continent. Hence, there is a high possibility that it is the original. This huge statue, however, may have been carved by some super being. After realizing what the beast god statue represents, Luo Feng was very clear he had to grab hold of this opportunity. The huge beast statue should be a low-level statue. The small statue should be a high-level one. Luo Feng deduced within. Carving the big one is fine, and even though its aura is strong, it has no charm within. Then, I'll take a bit at a time and study this huge statue's scale veins. When my strength is enough, I'll study the small statue. Luo Feng thought. This small statue was also left behind by some great being. Naturally, if someone could carve it and leave it, it is possible to withstand the universe laws. Luo Feng was clear that he was but a little ant amongst humanity, and humanity was but one of the pinnacle races of the trillions of races in the universe. Compared to the universe laws, he was simply too small. Begin. He looked at the huge statue in the Beast God Canyon, releasing his spirit energy to feel every scale's veins. Even though he had successfully carved out a similar statue, it had no aura at all. Luo Feng had to figure out why. Ripples. As his spirit energy carefully scanned the veins, not like his quick overall scan before, he dug deep in and felt each vein. Gradually, Luo Feng could feel ripples of universe laws within the veins. It wasn't gold, wood, water, fire, ground, wind, lightning, light, time or space, but rather a ripple that made one shudder within. A formless pressure that was made from these ripples. So the wonder is here. How can the veins of the scales make these ripples? These scale veins seem to be continuous. Luo Feng slowly began to notice some things. Actually, whatever he just noticed, the many generations of warriors of the Goldhorn race and humans had all discovered long ago. Otherwise it wouldn't garner so many warriors gathering here to keep studying it. Within his internal world. As his earth body was carefully analyzing the huge statue, in the grass patch within, the golden horned beast was once again carving another sleeping beast god statue. I was wrong before. The carving should be completed in one continuous motion. All of the over 90,000 scales should be carved out in one slice, forming a wonder of the origin law that triggers the gold, wood, water, fire, ground, wind, thunder, light, space and time universe ripples. Moshe Luofeng looked at the golden horned beast carving out the statue. Moshe Luofeng was watching the carving. The earth body was studying the sleeping beast god statue. Occasionally Moshe Luofeng would study the little beast god statue and feel its charm within, letting the other two bodies feel its presence too. Studying it over and over so that he could feel it over and over. The principle was an old dull way to study the origin laws, which was to replay one powerful warrior's technique over and over, according to the way he unleashed it. Be it 1 time, 10,000 times, trillions of times, naturally, as time passed one would feel the law ripples too. This was a dull and stupid way. Not studying the wonders of the law, but only the way to unleash it. This method was set so that one would never completely comprehend the laws. However, Luofeng understood that the secret within this statue may be even harder than comprehending the time or space laws, maybe even much harder than becoming a universe knight. The universe knight level was already so far away from him. To comprehend this secret must be even further away. Since that was so, then he'll use the stupid way, 1 time, 10k times, trillion times, replaying. This replaying technique doesn't work well for the others mainly because this sleeping statue doesn't have the imagery and charm of a true beast god. Black-clothed Luofeng looked up at the golden horned beast carving. However, I have an accurate comparison. Moshe Luofeng looked down at the tiny statue in his hand. It was simple. While carving, he would let the feeling of the beast god in the tiny statue emanate over and over, so that while the beast was carving, there would be a form and presence. Only through that way would it be complete. This was also why Luofeng believed that using the stupid method to study the statue was the most practical way to help improve his level of strength. I'm not aiming to comprehend its wonders right away. Even if I comprehend only just a small bit of it, with that I would be satisfied. When I get strong enough, then I'll look more into it. Luofeng thought that way, knowing oneself was extremely wise. He began immediately. Within the vast internal world, the golden horned beast lay before the mountain, using its spirit energy to control over 10k carving blades to carve the statue over and over. He then used the world energy to restore the mountain to its original form and carve it again, repeatedly over and over. This became a loop. Copying the huge golden horned beast's scale veins, failing over and over, there was never any aura or imagery. Failing 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. I've failed over 3,000 times already. It sure is hard. And it's just copying a few scales of the little beast god statue. The golden horned beast was still fearful of the law attack from before. Hence, it copied very carefully. Copying the veins of the little statue, it gave off a natural special feeling. Almost like carving a pathway of the universe. As it carved, the formless universe law pressure once again surfaced and gradually got stronger. Stop. After carving 10 scales, the beast stopped and howled as it turned to control the carving blades to try and copy the huge beast god statue's scales. Luofeng's earth body sat in Beast God Canyon, looking at the huge statue, feeling the peculiar ripples. The golden horned beast was in charge of carving the statues over and over, trying different ways. The Moshe body was in charge of holding the little statue and studying it, feeling the special god and imagery within that statue. The more it felt it, the clearer it was at how terrifying the beast god was, that feeling that made others shudder and submit. The 3 worked as one. Not resting or sleeping, completely immersed in it, as the golden horned beast carved as fast as lightning, within a day of Earth's time, it would normally have carved over 10,000 times. Under such circumstances, in the blink of an eye, a year had passed. The space beasts were naturally born to be lonely. The golden horned beast stood in the grass patch, not resting as it controlled the blades like lightning, carving at the huge mountain before it, instantly finishing the statue. In an instant, world energy reverted it back to its original mountain state, and it was carved again. The speed was simply shocking. How? The golden horned beast once again used world energy to revert the mountain, suddenly stopping. Rumble, the beast that was lying there suddenly stood on all fours. Its dark gold eyes filled with excitement as it stared at the completed sleeping beast god statue that reached over 10,000 kilometers tall. Damn! Moshe Luofeng flashed and immediately landed before the statue. He raised his hand to touch the stone and felt a very faint and extremely weak ripple. Ripple. That universe law ripple, not gold, wood, water, fire, ground, wind, lightning, light, time or space. Moshe Luo Feng shouted excitedly. Damn, we've succeeded. We actually captured a trace of the hint, triggering the universe source ripple. Howl. On the grass, the golden horned beast too raised its head and howled excitedly. Its howl echoed throughout the endless grass patch and skies. In the outside world, Beast God Canyon. Luo Feng could barely contain his excitement as he sat cross-legged, staring at the distant statue. He felt like shouting out. He was too excited, truly exhilarated. Over 1 year, more than a year, I've copied it over 5 million times. I've tried copying the little statue over 100 times. After the Moshe body constantly stared at the little statue and memorized its presence and imagery, trying to absorb it into my consciousness, I didn't expect to actually succeed this one time. Luo Feng was very excited. This success was actually the golden horned beast's carving that had within it almost negligible ripples. And the huge beast god statue itself had very normal ripples. The pressure it exerted, however, was no weaker than a Doyen's universe knight. The copy of the statue it made, however, didn't have any pressure at all. Pressure, none. As for the universe law ripples, maybe a trillionth of the huge statue. Luo Feng thought. However, at least there's progress. With this little progress, it's not much help to my strength. But at least it proves one thing, my method works. I'll continue on. Constantly raising, copying as much of the imagery till it gets stronger, then, the benefits to me would definitely be shocking. Luo Feng knew that the beast god statue was a true treasure. And his luck was good enough. The little statue was impossible to copy at the moment. The moment he tried to copy more scales, he would be pressured by the universe laws. The huge statue could be copied, however without the god presence, it was hard to pinpoint whether the copy was right. Only with the two of them together would it be a success. And the little statue was a treasure of Blood River continent. Even though no one understood its wonders, its position was extremely high. At least the number of beast god statues circulated in the universe were extremely few, and one of them was in Luo Feng's hands. Your Majesty. Your Majesty Luo Feng. Dylan and Sai-Fan Chi both felt ripples from Luo Feng, immediately asking. Ha ha. Luo Feng looked at both of them and said, I've sat here for over a year. However, I'm very interested in this beast god statue. Hence, I may stay here for another 10 to 100 years. Elder Sai-Fan Chi, if you have anything to attend to, you can return to the pagoda tribe. When I'm done studying the beast god statue, here I will leave Laos world immediately. My time is limitless. Sai-Fan Chi smiled. Hundreds to thousands of years are but a flash to me. Your Majesty needn't worry about me. If I have any urgent matters, I will definitely inform you before I leave. Luo Feng nodded, after which he looked at Dylan. The two of them exchanged glances, not needing to say anything. Dylan's job was to protect Luo Feng, and at Domain Lord level, it was his final chance to lay down his foundation. At universe level, they stayed within the nest of the virtual universe company. At Domain Lord level they had guards to protect them. However, once they reached Sector Lord level, they would truly be exploring the universe. Hence, during his time at Domain Lord level, the most important thing was his training. Dylan was willing to sacrifice his own few thousands of years of training before disturbing Luo Feng's training. Luo Feng's 3 bodies worked together. After the first success, he let the golden horned beast try copying again, discovering that he would only succeed 1 out of 10 times. After another half a month of copying, it became 1 out of 3 times. Another half a month passed and it was finally solid, he could succeed every time. At this time, Luo Feng had truly gotten a grasp of the weakest of the beast god's presence. Luo Feng called this the beast god presence. This beast god presence, I have grasped a little of it. Even the golden horned beast's sky-tearing claw has gotten stronger from it. Luo Feng sat crossed-legged on the stone. In the distance, many Goldhorn race clansmen silhouettes could be seen. Over 100 million of them were scattered throughout the canyon, almost like a swarm of locusts. Since I have a bare grasp of this presence, then, I'll station here and train. Luo Feng made a decision. Training anywhere was still training. Even if he was accompanying his wife, parents, children, he could meet them occasionally in the virtual universe. It was after all 100% simulation, which was not much different from reality. The time I spend here, I have to first exchange for 10,000 soul control. Luo Feng immediately sent a thread of his consciousness into the virtual universe network. Virtual universe, Yuseong Mountain, primal region, Luo Feng's villa. Within his study, Luo Feng sat before his desk and opened his laptop, swiftly opening the treasure trove folder and picking the techniques. After a while, he found the 10,000 soul control. This technique belonged to an extremely high-level technique, and was much stronger than the soul imprint Hu Yangbo had created. Even if Hu Yangbo had the strength of an official level Undying, back then he couldn't do anything against this sector Lord-level Bug Clan Mother Nest. Even if he had money, he couldn't purchase this valuable manual. After all, amongst the entire humanity, the number of techniques created to control the Mother Nest were only 29. All of them were incredibly expensive. Damn. So expensive. Luo Feng looked at the price on the screen. Unlike time-space scribbles, an extremely top-end manual which could be purchased in parts, this 10,000 soul control couldn't and had to be bought in its entirety. 10,000 soul control was a technique to control the soul of a slave, with an exchange price 1.5 million points, primal region 70%, absolute beginning 80%, sky and land region 90% and last phase region full price. 1.5 million points. So pricey. Luo Feng looked at the price and felt the pinch, it was simply too vicious. Teacher Hu Yangbo's soul imprint's entire manual is only worth about 10,000 points, and just the soul imprint would probably be only worth thousands of points. And this 10,000 soul control, which was also another soul control technique, had reached 1.5 million. Barbata, who stood on his shoulder, twitched his mouth. Stop complaining. If you weren't a core member of the virtual universe, even if you had 2 million or 3 million mixed elements, you'd never be able to buy this manual. Normally, any warrior that acquires a mother nest would sell everything of theirs just to find a way to control it. As long as one copy of these manuals are auctioned by the Virtual Universe Company, there would be fierce competition for it. Luo Feng rubbed his chin. He naturally knew this. However, he was poor. My points, with the 200,000 points from the mission before, when the 1-year limit reaches, with 2 targets still on the run, I would only get 85% completion. And I'd only get 170,000 points from that. The 2 impossible level missions gave me the most points. Demon Note Mountain gave me 400,000 points, and Confusion Galaxy gave me 500,000. Luo Feng looked at his points layout. His total points were only at 1,316,060. Part 2 end here.